Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and today I wanted to make a quick video now that we know 9.2 is coming out, and now that we have this new blue post, about what you will need to be grinding and what you'll need to be doing next patch to have your character ready, to have your character all set. So there's a couple different systems, a couple different names that are coming next patch, and a lot of confusion about what is actually going to be required to do. So I want to go through and break things down. First off, let's start by talking about the Enlightened Reputation, which is the new reputation earned in Zereth Mortis, which is the new zone, and it is the kind of main storyline of next patch. So you will earn this reputation from a couple different sources, from campaign chapters, from world quests, from a bi-weekly quest, so similar to the weekly quests, but twice per week, presumably resetting on that Friday, halfway through Friday for NA, halfway through Saturday for EU. Breakpoint that you might be familiar with if you remember patch 8.3 when the minor assault would flip that same time. And also the world boss, if I didn't mention that, and also rares that are available in the new zone. So the rep, in theory, that sounds a bit like Korthia, right? In theory, that's like, oh no, am I going to have to do a Korthia grind again? But the answer is almost certainly not for most people. So first off, this post has changed the relative values of the rares to the other stuff. They've buffed all the things that aren't the rares. They've nerfed the rares. So the rares don't give that much rep. And the idea is that you can get to Revered by week 5 without killing a single rare. Why is week 5 important? Because that is the only week for most players that there's any serious power gated behind the Enlightened Reputation, which is the Legendary Memory. So the patch, or the Legendary Belt, which lets you, it's your second Legendary, it gives you the Covenant ability. You get that at the end of Chapter 7, which you can do at the start of the 5th week of the patch, or the 3rd week of Mythic. And that doesn't require any reputation. You just get that. It's item level 265. But if you want the memory, which will let you craft it onto all slots, and when they say all, like this is every slot on your character sheet can support this thing. So you need to get Revered, and it needs to be the end of Chapter 7 already. So as long as you can reach Revered before or at the same time as you complete Chapter 7, there's no further rush on the reputation for most players. You do still want to do that. You do still want to get that memory. It's slightly better than the belt because you can make it at a higher item level, and you can put it onto a slot that is some combination of replacing the worst item and a nice, well-budgeted slot, a slot that gives a lot of stats. So you wouldn't want to do like chest piece because that's going to be a tier slot piece unless you aren't going to get a tier piece there for whatever reason, but something like legs or something like that rather than belt for a little bit more oomph. Actually, I think legs are a tier piece slot as well, so you'd pick something, you'd look at the list and you'd pick something that that gives more stats than the belt, which there are a couple slots that aren't tier pieces, or, the 5th tier slot where you don't actually put your tier. So that's what's happening at Revered. There is some stuff at Exalted. At Exalted, there's the Eternal Augment Rune. Not player power, just convenience. And there's the Vessel of Profound Possibilities. The Vessel of Profound Possibilities is all conduits raised to item level 278. But in order to buy this, you also need to have one of 3 achievements. Those achievements are Mythic the Jailer, Keystone Hero, which is 3,000 Mythic Plus score, which is not as high as it sounds because there's 2 new dungeons coming next patch as well. So it would be the equivalent of 2,400 score from last season, or Elite in PvP, so 2,400 in PvP. So those are quite, hefty goals. A lot of players never aspire to that, and if that isn't something that's in the cards for you, then Exalted doesn't have any power behind it. If it is, then there is a grind that you are potentially incentivized to do to try and get this vessel as soon as possible. This was some old math here. These numbers are actually, it'll be possible to get there a little bit faster than this. This was the math before they made this change. So in theory, you could get to Exalted by, the 50th day, a little bit before then of the patch. So for some niche cases, you may be trying to get just as much rep as humanly possible and killing every single rare to try and get this on day 47 instead of day 50. That's the case if you can get Keystone Hero, can get Elite, but are still working on the Jailer, right? And you're trying to get this power spike for the Jailer. Otherwise, I don't see any cases where you'd really care about farming the rares to accelerate that by a day or two when you get that thing. So, yeah, for most cases, as long as you're doing, most of this other stuff, you should get all the rep you need. Revered is the major thing that you can get, and that's also gated by Chapter 7. And if you get Revered a week later than Chapter 7 is completed, you can just use that belt for that week, and it'll be fine. There are some other stuff behind the rep. At Honored, you can get the pattern to make the Legendaries, but you don't need to get that yourself. You can let the crafters get that and then purchase it from the auction house, which is what I intend to do. And that lets you upgrade Legendaries to rank 7. So rank 7 Legendaries are item level 291, a big spike in item levels here. They do not require any additional Soul Ash or Soul Cinders, which will still come pretty much exclusively from Torghast, although you can also get them from your mission table if you're a fan of adventures like myself. I like getting all of my... I farmed a couple hundred Soul Cinders just from doing mission table over the course of like a month because I did not want to go into Torghast anymore. So that's definitely an option, but you do still need some Soul Ash and Soul Cinders to create legendary. You need that if you want to create legendaries that you don't already have, right? But if you just want to upgrade, you don't need any more Soul Ash or Soul Cinders, so you don't need to go into Torghast ever again, because the new currency called Cosmic Flux drops from anywhere. It drops from Zereth Mortis, it drops from PvP, it drops from Mythic Plus, it drops from the raid. So you can get this and upgrade your legendary just by playing the game and not by being forced to do Torghast, although it does also come from Torghast if you want to grind Torghast, in which case I don't really understand you, but that's okay. We can all agree to disagree on what's fun. But yeah, you still might want to do some Torghast to get enough Cinders and Ash to create enough legendaries to use. You can scrap your legendaries and get Soul Cinders and Soul Ash back. That's a new feature in 9.15. But you do lose the base item by doing that, so it is somewhat expensive in gold, although it does mean you could get by with only ever spending Soul Cinders. Now, you do want enough Soul Cinders to be able to create the Memory of Unity onto a slot that you don't already have. So you do want to make sure you have at least the 1650 Cinders and the 5150 Ash built up. Although I've heard there is going to be a way to transfer Soul Cinders from character to character, like there is already for transferring Soul Ash from character to character. So if you have a bunch of alts that each have like 500 for whatever reason, you can, pool all the Soul Cinders into the character that you actually care the most about and leave it on your alts till later, or potentially even shift it around as needed. Yeah, so that's what's going on with Legendaries. Again, no Torghast required. You may have heard stuff about the Cypher of the First Ones system. Cypher of the First Ones is another new system. This initially looks intimidating as well. You can look down here as well, and you can see research times. Last time we had research times that mattered, it was Legion artifact research, and that was actually really important to start researching as fast as possible from the day the expansion came out. For power level reasons, you can see some intimidating times on these different researches as well. The good news is all of this system is not raid power. It's all stuff for the outdoor world, enhancements in the outdoor world, Pock energy. Pockapoc's like a little friend you got out in Zereth Mortis. And Pock, can do cool stuff, can control Resonant Automa. You can get the Progenitor Core pet upgrades. Pock can assist you in combat in a supporting role, can, heal you and do damage and stuff out in the outdoor world. Doesn't do anything in raid, doesn't do anything in dungeons. So there is a sort of traditional time-gated, system with some intimidating UIs and resources and grinding and stuff like that in this coming patch. And it's completely untied to the raid, to player power. And so for that reason, I'm actually pretty excited about the system. I quite enjoy engaging with these sort of systems when I don't have to blast 100% efficiency of them for the first month and a half of the expansion in order to not be inting my raid. And so I'm looking forward to kind of enjoying this thing at my own pace and exploring Zereth Mortis in that way. The change to the rares, it goes a long way for me on that as well, because without the rares being super relevant, I don't have to go around the entire zone and kill every single rare every day, right? I can kill a couple when I run into them. The rep will be a nice little bonus, but it's not going to be particularly relevant for player power, except it might for my guild, maybe, if the Exalted is like just around when we're killing the Jailer, which maybe it is. We don't know how long the tier is going to be, so it might matter, but I don't know. Even still, I'm probably not going to bother with it, but we'll see. We'll do some math and figure out if that's something we want to go for. But even if it is for my guild, it's there's going to be at most a very narrow band of like 10 guilds in the world that are good enough to kill the Jailer pretty quick, but not good enough to kill it before you can get Exalted, that will be affected by this rep in any meaningful way, and everybody else can just chill and get revered at the same time as Chapter 7 without killing a single rare. There's no sockets that you can buy with this system. It looks like sockets are just going back to being RNG on gear, so that has upsides and downsides. But the upside is there's no Korthia next tier. There's nothing remotely Korthia-like next tier for players like me, for players that have my problems with Korthia. Different players, more casual players, I've seen a lot of complaints about the Cypher system. Some of which I think comes from misunderstanding, and some of which comes from just people with a very different perspective than me that do not enjoy or do not like the look of this system for their own reasons. But I will say, for me, the system seems great. Seems like it'll be fun, and none of the time gates, reputation grinds, power, none of that stuff seems like it's at all bad this coming patch. And I thought Korthia had a lot of really big sins associated with it, and it doesn't have any of that as far as I can see. Anyways, hope this video helped you mentally prepare yourself for what's coming next patch. Again, the big takeaway is, honestly, I think the biggest takeaway is getting yourself ready for making your rank 7 legendaries, potentially grabbing those soul cinders to be able to craft when you do get revered. That might be something you can do this week or next week, rather than saving it for next patch when there'll be more exciting, more fun stuff to do, the new patch M+. One of the big things you will want to grind at the start of next patch is potentially stuff like PvP rating, Tazavesh M+. There's some very powerful trinkets from Tazavesh. Solia's Gambit, the Solia trinket, is extremely good, the one that drops from her. So Solia's Secret Technique, I think it's called. There will be incentive to do stuff at the start of next patch, but it will be within dungeons, within PvP, within the raid, and it won't be mandatory outdoor world grind. The Cosmic Flux system is used for upgrading regular items into tier pieces, but that's coming 8 weeks into the patch, so it's something that you don't have to worry about initially, and the way that timings work on that, there's not going to be any stress of a grind on that. The main way that system is going to work is the main incentives it creates is if you ever get, like, say you have mythic level helmet and then you drop mythic socketed non-tier helmet, right? Save that item for when the system comes out that lets you turn that into a tier piece, because it will preserve the socket. So save any items in tier slots that have sockets, that have tertiaries, so that you can turn them into tier once that system comes out. But again, that's 2 months into the patch's lifespan, so it's not one of these kind of urgent goals at the start of the patch. And by the time it comes out, everything will have calmed down and we'll have figured out all the systems and everything, and it will all be chill. So that's the systems coming with 9.2. Stamp of approval from me. Much better than Korthia, better than the Maw, better than, I think, all of the patch systems since. I think I liked Broken Shore quite a bit, but honestly, objectively, Broken Shore had some problems as well that I don't see with this. But I like the zone. I don't know what to say. Anyways, I'm rambling now, so I'm gonna end the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.